Are you ready?
Oh, sorry, I'm on.
No way, no way, thank you, no.
John, I appreciate your strong statements in the newspaper. SUNY Pie.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the statement, but, it's a done deal.
I know it is.
It's a done deal. You know, it's no surprise. It's a disappointment, obviously, but it's no surprise. She was talking about doing it months ago. Andrew, was gonna do it, okay, but then he had to change the.
But it's not all of SUNY Pie, it's just the component.
Just a component, but it's a big part.
Nano science, right?
It's a big part of it. And from my understanding, that was part of the gentleman's agreement, more or less, when Wolfspeed got in, when they were spent tons of
$1
money.
billion.
So they were gonna have access to, high quality education.
Workforce is the #1 issue for site selection.
So I guess that didn't matter. Is it going to affect it much? I don't know, it's hard to say, time will tell, but it was.
And maybe it just becomes OCC because Micron's making a $10 million or a $5 million investment into clean rooms, and New York's kicking in another $10 million to build clean rooms at OCC. So maybe it just simply shifts that
Maybe
the SUNY Pie component goes back to SUNY Albany and OCC plays a bigger role.
Yeah, we'll see.
So call the IDA board meeting to order. First order of business is the approving minutes of the October 20th meeting.
I'll move to accept.
Second, moved by John Salka, second by Russ Laura. Any errors, corrections, omissions, deletions? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Review the November 2022 financials.
The first document in your stack is the balance sheet. I'm going through these fairly quickly. We've got a cash checking savings account balance of $1,043,026. Just an update, we did renew our $400,000 Bank of Utica CD. That was, in addition, our community bank money market, that $264,000 approximately, has been renewed into a CD also. I've been working with Beth both on the IDA and renewing the CRC cash balances, investing into CDs.
Short term.
The money market through community bank was a 13-month, excuse me. I don't know off the top of my head. I know that we did do a 5-year ladder on the Bank of Utica bonds on the CRC side. We're upwards of 3% when we're going out multiple years. But we've been holding off, even that community bank money market was in a CD. We were holding off, waiting for interest rates to rise, and we finally pulled the trigger on that and locked in some good interest rates. We've got deferred outflows of $70,272. Our fixed assets, which is inclusive of land building improvements, machinery and equipment, furniture equipment, less accumulated depreciation, $286,663. Total assets of $1,259,418. We have accounts payable of -$236. Payroll liabilities of -$345. Total current liabilities after adjustments of $9,537. Pension liability of $806, and equity of $1,249,074 that equals our assets. The revenue appropriation analysis, interest income of $121. Rental of real property, grants from Madison County, CRC contract income less other income has total income of $316,167. We have expenses of wages and unallocated insurance of $154,110. Contractual expenses of $52,165. Employee benefits of $86,705. Gives us total expenses of $296,466 and a net income of $19,700, and that is through the end of November.
Is all our rent just for this week?
Our rent is rent received from the satellite agency, SANI, and tourism, rent that we receive from other people renting space from us. The bulk of which is coming from SANI. And then we've got our in-house revenue appropriation analysis that should mirror our spreadsheet, QuickBooks. And draw your attention to the bottom left-hand corner that has our cash balances. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
All the third-party collateral agreements are up to date?
Yes, specifically asked those questions. Beth wanted me to double check.
Okay. We moved, second by Russ, moved by Steve Lyon. Second by Russ. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, carried. Executive Director's report.
33 Riverton, at the time when we printed this, we hadn't closed on 33 Riverton, but the signature pages are in Chris's hands as we speak. Again, that's, we had some technical issues that we were working through to make sure that they did not take advantage of any sales tax benefits after our benefit period ended, which was October. And once we cleared those up, we got the signature pages circulated and we'll get those filed and completed next week, I guess.
Yes.
The Alliance Apartments is the Lake Street School in Chittenango. I just talked with Mayor Bow Martin yesterday, and she assured me that the project just received site plan approval. Bless you. They have not completed seeker, but the village is going to be the lead agency on that, and we should hopefully have something for our January meeting. But everything is going as planned, and even the rising interest rates doesn't seem to be harming the project, which is good.
That's the village of Chittenango?
Yes.
Not the town, so.
No. It's within the village, the old Lake Street School. The planning department just received site plan. The planning committee. International Boxing Hall of Fame is the one action item. The Thruway Authority met on December the 5th. They approved a resolution authorizing the Thruway to sell to Madison County IDA for $1 consideration. The approximately 4 acres fronting the Thruway, and for the expectation that we will sell it for $1 to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. It's our expectation that they are getting it appraised or have it appraised so that they can pay full market value after the fact to get rid of the reversion clause. If you recall, we went through this process. Whatever was necessary for them to keep it permanently did not come about. So there was a reversion back to the Thruway Authority. So we have restarted these discussions. Most of the work has been done by the International Boxing Hall of Fame, working with Joe Roberti at the Thruway Authority. Everybody's been great, but we do have a resolution before us. Amanda, do we have?
I put them on the table. Right. Sorry about the
Passing
poor
this
quality.
around, which
Out here, you
includes.
should visit. Yeah. Here's 2 clean. Oh, you.
Is there a seat? Is there a
Yours
seat required?
It's a neg deck,
Oh,
it's just a
It's in
transfer.
here then.
Okay.
Resolution authorizing the acceptance of the gift from the international, or from the Thruway Authority, the expectation that that land will be sold to the International Hall of Fame, Boxing Hall of Fame. That is the full
Yeah.
resolution with exhibits.
So the exhibits to the full one are the authority agreement between the Thruway Authority and the IDA. That's still in draft form. That's exhibit A. Exhibit B is the authorizing resolution of the Thruway Authority, authorizing them to get the land to the IDA. And the last one is, exhibit C is the negative declaration. So this is an unlisted action under secret, which means we don't have to do a involved agency full coordinated review and send stuff out, right? So it's an uncoordinated review. We don't have to send a letter and wait 30 days. It's not going to have an effect, a negative effect on the environment. So we do the negative declaration in exhibit C. We just keep that in the files of the IDA. So that's what that is. Legislation itself dates back to 2013, as Kip mentioned, it was amended. I know you folks did this in 2015 too, the same thing, I think, right? It was a piece of land, it was all part of the same legislation, but portion of that land that was authorized.
Right, and it was reverted back. I think they were to construct upon it and they did not. And now the current language in the legislation that was it co-sponsored by you, John, or was it Rachel May exclusively?
No, I
What's wrong with you?
The reversion can be overcome by paying full market value, and I want to say either they have the appraisal completed or it's already been, it's out on contract, it's being done.
What's that expected to be? Now?
I expect it to, now,
Where do those funds
to the Thruway Authority. Yeah, now there's no profit or anything. Even our legal fees on drawing up these documents will go back to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, will make us whole. We won't make anything, we won't lose anything, we're just the conduit. Which we've done this several times in my time at the IDA. We did it for Costello Eye Surgeons in downtown Oneida, we've done it for Canastota. Maybe it was the Boxing Hall of Fame just a few years prior.
Any other questions? I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly what I was gonna ask.
Glad to see it. But we're the only ones who could be the secret.
Yes. Because it's an unlisted action, if it was a type 1 action, we'd have to do a coordinated review and send out the letters to the different involved agencies if there were any. But because it's an unlisted action, we don't have to do that. So what we do in the resolutions, go through the secret steps to make sure we do that before we say that it's authorized to transfer the land.
So this began 9 years ago?
Something like that.
Okay, I can move this resolution for adoption.
Resolution's been moved, seconded by John Sullivan. Any further discussion? If not, roll call?
It's getting people at the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. We've waited a long time for this.
Potter?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Solka?
Aye.
Moran?
Yeah.
Bartos? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Um,
Pretty simple.
Yeah, right, that,
Well, we thought we had it 2 years ago, and then, this reversion clause came up, and, then, so they put it on hold for the following legislative session, so we did manage to squeak it through.
Yeah, the reversion clause now, public properties too.
could they have
You're not
even,
gonna use it for the 10th person, they want it back.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
could they have even just put up a sign, future, future, would that have
I think
taken
they,
away the reversion clause?
maybe.
I don't know, it just seems like, but,
I think they
Anyway,
want the
too late.
visibility, they want to encourage people,
Yeah.
like, get off the Thruway here.
right,
Come and
that's
see
why.
the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
So what are they doing
Why
with this
didn't they
land?
do it?
I did the papers, but I don't know if they actually used the land for.
I'm not sure they have a definite plan for it,
Okay.
actually.
Even the land that the current Boxing Hall of Fame sits on is leased land to
Right.
New York State. So I think this is giving them the opportunity to
Oh,
own it
So that's part of.
part of it, yeah.
oh, I didn't know. Interesting.
Isn't there a survey in there?
There is a map.
So the only thing that they really own is where that, old house.
The old house that has the museum that stores some of the relics. Yeah, they own like a third of 1 acre, which might even
We got
include
some
the
ideas.
kiosk next to McDonald's.
They're struggling. They're struggling. They need a new roof, and that's gonna be, a ton of money, and they just, COVID beat them up.
Yeah.
COVID set them back quite, but they had a good year. This was a good year for them. So, this year's Hall of Fame worked out well. Yeah, good, yeah, one of the best, as a matter of fact, for a long time. And what? Big attendance. Reduction.
The other item that I've got listed is Micron discussion. As everybody has heard, big announcement for the White Pines Industrial Park in the in Onondaga County in the town of Clay. The proposal is for $100 billion capital investment over the next 20 years, up to 50,000 jobs, direct and indirect. Phase one, 2023, next year, they'll do the land clearing. 2024, they will be constructing it. Equipment will be ordered immediately, and the plan would be that they'll be operational sometime in 2025.
Just the whole, not the whole 100.
No, $20 billion,
Just part of it,
phase
right,
one.
it's in-
There will
okay.
be 4 phases. They anticipate 100 billion, and it was
Clay.
in Clay.
So is this an Onondaga County ID?
It is.
Yeah.
The Onondaga County IDA owns 1,400 acres. That site has as much power as any other area in New York State from National Grid's perspective. So the sheer amount of power juice at that site, the access to Onondaga County Water Authority, aqua water, fresh water, the investment that they're making in wastewater treatment is tremendous. One of the few sites, and again, Onondaga County has acquired from 700 to 1,400 acres with the expectation that Micron won't take up that footprint, but tier one suppliers will. They'll want to be, in easily reachable distance. Tier two, tier three suppliers, I think Madison County, I think once you get 10 miles outside of that site, the Micron direct people won't want to be that far away, but the other service providers, I met with some Micron officials, mostly public relations, government relations type folks, a few weeks ago. It was lined up by ESD. We met at Center State. And they said, don't limit your thoughts to electronics and components and gases and other things, but like landscaping services, janitorial services, like all of these things are going to be in huge demand. How can you help us to provide for it? Housing is not going to happen in the 5-10 mile radius around the new Micron facility. How do you prepare?
School district.
The school district,
Kids, 70, a lot of kids. Yeah.
STEM education, I helped to push with my counterparts to get the economic development folks together. We had a meeting just Tuesday of this week with David Botar and Rob Simpson from Center State and Ryan McMahon, the county executive, and Onondaga County IDA, along with Empire State Development. And we brought along John Becker, Mark Simone, Scott Ingmeyer, and myself representing Madison County. But we were trying to keep it a small enough group to learn from Onondaga County. How did you land them? What do we know about their future needs, and how do we prepare ourselves? So we're trying to think big picture about industrial park land or tracts of land and infrastructure access, and trying to think on a big picture. How do we educate the Village of Chittenango Planning Board on what to expect? And how do we, not give away the farm and recognize that this is going to be a big opportunity and that we ought to have the right type of development and not to give away land when we could, develop things in a thoughtful way for the long term. We need to think along the lines of Skaneateles and Cazenovia and Hamilton, how they are trying to guide their own development and just trying to get everybody on the right mindset. I was talking with Marie from the Carpenters Union just before the meeting, and I was just going through what we're doing. I've reached out to my former counterparts in Boise, Idaho. Say, hey, Micron's corporate headquarters there. How much do you work with them? They announced a $15 million expansion. What should we be doing to prepare? I reached out to Shelby Snyder, who's now with NYSCDC, but she was involved on the economic development side when Global Foundries went to Malta. So I said, Shelby, can you line up some government officials? Can you line up folks from Global Foundries? Can we bring a very small contingency of just economic development people to do a familiarization tour? What did you guys learn from your experience? What would you have done differently in hindsight? So we're just trying to think of, how we can prepare ourselves for this opportunity. And it's I don't doubt that Onondaga County is going to try to get as much of an impact out of this as possible. But come phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 of the next 20 years, it's going to spread to all of the neighboring communities. We're all going to benefit from this. And we just need to keep in mind and, try to do some smart planning up front in anticipation of how this is going to affect us. So. a lot of it is out there now. I don't know if people have questions, but if it weren't for the state legislature doing the Green Chips Act, if it weren't for Chuck Schumer helping to push, I mean, they're going to get a 25%, a $5 billion investment tax credit based on their investment from the federal government. There are some very big things that went into this. The amount of planning that Center State has been involved in, and the county executive, and even the Mohawk Valley on bringing wolf speed. The stamp site in Genesee County, you're gonna see chip fab related industries all along the Thruway corridor, eventually stretching to Buffalo. I think that's the plan. That's what Cuomo had talked about. I don't doubt that Hochul's trying to carry that. But it's a huge opportunity for us. I mean, I was excited when the Green Empire Farms was going to invest $70 million in Madison County. 20 billion, 100 billion is hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
So 2025, they
Hope to be operational.
How many jobs?
The way that it's been couched is 9,000 direct jobs, but I think that's in the same vein as $100 billion. So I think that's a 20-year, right. It very well could be 2,000 jobs with phase one. Direct jobs.
Amazing.
Right. And, my counterparts in Boise, the Boise Valley, their comment was, it's cyclical. At one time, Boise had 7,000 employees. Now they have 3,500 employees, but a lot of the people that were employees have spun out, and those spin out companies still have employees on the site at Micron, but they're supplying tools and parts and servicing machinery and doing this stuff. You'd think they were a Micron employee, but they're not. So when you say that Micron went from 7,000 employees to 3,500, there's still 15,000 jobs in the Boise Valley associated with Micron's operations.
Well, and even, my engineering peers and colleagues, everybody's really excited about the water, wastewater infrastructure and the potential for a lot of, local job stimulation, in that, because Syracuse has a really big, relative concentration of environmental engineers. And that's all good.
Water must be a big issue.
Huge. But even Global Foundries, we took
You can see why Austin, Texas didn't get it.
Yeah.
They don't have any water.
Colorado River,
Right.
Brian, how many
Yeah.
millions of gallons of water they need every day?
Right. And they don't have it.
We spoke at the EDC conference last month in Utah.
Yeah, you and I.
And then Onondaga County IDA was there, and they were presenting there. And I thought one of the things was right across the street from the main place where everything will be, one of the plants, it's like a huge power station, right?
Yeah.
So that was like another key component. too.
Electricity,
They're like, they were drooling over this access to this amount of power, because they couldn't get it anywhere else at that.
But you can put in power, but you can't get.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Yeah.
Like fresh water
it's
from the
definitely
Great
water.
Lakes.
You can't move Lake Ontario.
The Great Lakes, yeah.
I remember when we toured Global Foundries 14 years ago through NYSEDC with Brian McMahon. I remember them saying that New York State promised Global Foundries that they would bring them a second source of water. And at the time, I thought they were going to bring it from the Hudson up to them. And it was an outrageous, like $250 million water infrastructure project. And they sourced water elsewhere, but they needed 2 sources of ultra clean water to be able to, at a bare minimum, allow them to operate it. It's amazing what type of infrastructure is necessary.
The sheer amount of water to make
Well,
these products.
And Aqua apparently has capacity for about half of their ultimate demand. So they're putting in these really high-tech water reclamation systems too. It's gonna take a lot of
Much like
engineering
Green Empire
design.
Farms.
Like Green Empire, yeah, so.
I think Aqua, and I'm just going from memory from having read something a few years ago, but I think they currently serve 50 million gallons a day out of their current.
That's about right, yeah. We worked on their long-term strategic plan a couple of years ago to look at, my goal was to figure out what can go wrong in the lake, so.
It all flows back to that. Does it all flow back to that lake?
Eventually.
Same watershed?
Anyway, It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really glad that Onondaga and Madison and, there's some real regional conversations going on.
Mhm.
Great.
I think it'll be a great opportunity for Morrisville State College. When I met with the Micron officials, they said, listen, your School of Agriculture, like there are farm families that are very mechanical, and those that are able to work on farm equipment, and if they've got, those mechanical engineers, we would love to be able to get access to that type of workforce. So I've had that discussion with Dave Rogers and, and talking with Shelby, and I said, Hudson Valley Community College put in a microchip, engineering type certificate program specific for Global Foundries. How is that working out? And the response was, it was too narrow. It was too narrow of a focus, and they kind of scaled back to this mechatronics, is the right term? Mechatronics. So I've kind of mentioned to Dave Rogers, like your STEM, classes, you might try to scale back. I'm sure Onondaga County's focused in on it, their community
I
college.
can work with Micron to see exactly what skill sets they need.
Right.
Yeah.
Even Boise, they had, the Alliance for Economic Inclusion was one of these grant funding programs using the regional council's Upstate Revitalization Initiative money. And some money went to the community action partners. They've gone to many organizations throughout the 5-county central New York region. And I've reached out to them and say, in Boise, they've put together a bus, and that bus travels to elementary schools, and they teach kids K through 6 about the opportunities in virtual reality and robotics and STEM and microchip production, so that kids are starting from a very young age to think about their education because there are these job opportunities. So I've reached out to Whitney and Onondaga County to say, is there funding for this? Because it sounds like something that would be very good. There's a lot of elementary schools within the 5 counties, and even getting into the Mohawk Valley and into the Finger Lakes. The response was, no, there wasn't money for it, but it's something we ought to emulate. Like it's a good idea that's working elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I think
There's
that's
money to be found.
it's the big picture that you need to think about. How do we get the K through 6 kids thinking about it? Because by the time they're freshmen and sophomores in high school, they've already got kind of a focus on what they plan to go to school for or what they want to do for a living, and it's not, ingrained at such a young age.
I won't really games.
Elsewhere on other activities, Casanova College, since we're not going to go into a CRC board meeting, we could.
Because we're advertised for a meeting, right? Just get the minutes approved.
And we can do that.
Let's get that off there.
If that's the case, and we've got the resolution behind us, I don't have anything else to report on the IDA front.
Okay. Any other,
Except, the Board of Supervisors met, they considered nonprofits and economic development and other agency funding, and they did approve a 5% increase for the year ahead. For those agencies that requested an increase. Those that didn't ask for an increase were not going to receive one based on the resolution. We asked for 8%. And it's gotten us in trouble in a little sideways, but we do ask year over year. But that's all that I have. Thank you.
Get the message from the budget officer, don't ask for any increase. Tell you to put the increase on.
And the one year we did get funding for an increase because we asked and nobody else did, and they were kind of mad that it was a little bit overseen that we weren't supposed to get the increase. Oops. Put us sideways for a couple of years.
Okay, there's no business, motion adjourned.
Oh, some.
Second. By Liz, second by Russ. All those in favor? Aye. I'm gonna call the CRC board meeting to order. First order of business is approve the minutes of the previous meeting, October 20th, 2022. Motion?
So,
Motion by John Sullivan, second. Second by Steve Potter. Any errors, corrections, omissions, deletions? Okay, if not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Let's review the financials.
Got a balance sheet. We've got total net assets of 1,439,349. Portion of which about 2.5 years worth of operating in our checking account, and the rest invested in short and medium term investments through CDs. Any questions?
Only expense for the year is the contract with the IDA.
Yes. We also set aside our budget for obligations that we have, such as a small amount awaiting use in the Casanova community, and might be $9,000 approximately, and roughly $70,000 for bond financing for the greater Morrisville community, which we budget for in anticipation of a request. We've been holding on to those monies for a few years now.
No
And there's-
requests are coming through.
The Cas Barnes was the last, and they had a adjustment to that, so that's been our latest.
Yeah, but for Morrisville, nothing.
No, but the town supervisor was able to secure hundreds of thousands of dollars for a new town park. It was part of the downtown revitalization, or the New York Forward, the DRI light, in which Casanova, Hamilton, and Morrisville made a pitch. I was hopeful to see that park, which sits next to the football field in Morrisville, between the football field and CCE and the elementary school. I would love to see that further developed. They've got an amphitheater and a farmer's market. I'd love to see a food incubator that maybe draws students and entrepreneurs off campus and within the community to make, ag-related products similar to what Nelson Farms used to be that could be sold. Coffee house, just more things to get the Morrisville State College faculty and students off campus, and the folks from the community to be, to see that as more of an economic engine within the community. And maybe that type of request will come to us. But I'd love to see the town, the village, and the college all come together with a common request. We'll see.
Those ideas were part of the DRI, right? That hasn't been announced.
Has not. We're still sitting tight.
That should be soon.
I think there's been several. We just had a call on the Hotel Oneida project. We have a weekly call, and Barb Henderson from the city of Oneida had indicated that a couple of other communities have been announced. So we anticipated mid-December, so we're right here. We might get a call from the governor to say, be at City Hall next Monday, because we've got a big announcement to make, and I'm sure that'll be.
Who is Barb Henderson working for?
She is the administrative assistant to, or the number 2 person at the planning department. Cassie Rose retired. Barb went from Cactus. Scott's ex-wife.
Yeah, Scott's excellent.
Yeah, that's on there.
She serves on the planning and zoning board for the city of Oneida also.
She had applied for PCD as well. But I didn't know where she went back.
Yeah, she was with, and Cassie just retired, and Chris Henry is the new planning director, who had spent some time in Oneida County and the city of Rome, I think.
That's what Barb was. She's sharp.
Yeah, she was with Cactus for a number of years, right?
Yes.
That's going back 10 years or more. Time flies, I know. Minutes, financials,
District Director's report.
yeah, just the Casanova College update.
We put the financials.
No.
Motion to approve the financial report.
Sure.
Steve Fry. Second.
Second.
I've done all the seconds.
We'll take turns, right, okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Cass College, as everybody knows, they were unable to come to an agreement with existing bondholders to refinance the debt in round numbers, $25 million, 15 in taxable, 15 in tax exempt, 10 million taxable. Kind of a perfect storm. They promised on their short-term refinance in 2019 that they would increase enrollment 3 or 4 months after we closed. COVID hit. Everyone went remote. Higher education across the United States dropped enrollment by 26%. Casanova was no exception to that. They felt that impact. As of earlier this year, and these are just some notes that I have as far as the perfect storm, that the stock market was down 30% this summer when their discussions started getting very serious with their bondholders. Interest rates had gone from 3.25% to 6.25%. They have a new president, new CFO at the college, and New York State came out with the Excelsior free tuition program at SUNY institutions. And all of those factors help to contribute. And, we've seen it in the newspaper. I've stayed in very good contact with the school president and CFO. We've gotten a few phone calls from alumni and others just asking what happened, or, is there anything that can be done? Kurt Wheeler, the mayor, Bill Zupan is the town supervisor, the college president, and other community members, including CAPTA, are all getting together. I've asked to join that group just to think about big picture, long term, what would be the best use of the campus? How will this impact, and what can we do to help influence the direction of the CAS community going forward, just in light of the fact that the college has made the announcement that they'll close their doors at the end of the spring semester.
So was there any, it doesn't hurt us in any way, directly, obviously indirectly, it does.
It hurts the Casanova community, the economic impact. CRC, right. There was no obligation on our part, we were the conduit to the
There's
issue.
no negativity that redounds to us because of our, just that we were involved.
From a legal perspective, there isn't any liability or anything. From a public opinion, I don't think there is much. You've explained over and over again that we're a conduit to do the kind of financing.
Completely out of our control.
Yeah. I just was curious because I said I should have gotten involved or.
Well, ultimately, it was a decision by the board of trustees, right? Board of trustees.
Type of way to start a job for the new college president.
Yeah.
Feel bad for him,
Bad for the students that
Oh, of course.
had made the commitment and won't be able to finish, or those that they're just in their freshman year, and there's professors that just recently moved there and took a job with the college they uprooted themselves and purchased real estate, and there's a lot of hurt all the way around. And
The facility and
it just made a whole lot of upgrades.
when you're.
With part of the bond
when you're
financing.
doing poorly, that's usually what suffers first.
Yeah.
Now, they made improvements to some of the buildings. They improved HVAC and energy efficiency at a lot of their facilities.
So the items you listed off that contributed to their closing, sounds like they're a victim of public policy.
Well, Hartwick is in my district, and I met with the college professor, or college president, a ways back, a while back, but she said, what are you doing to us? Okay, private colleges are struggling because now we have to compete with taxpayer-funded university system.
And it's free tuition?
The Excelsior program just hit them very, very hard. And it's not a perfect storm for them because they've realized their commitments pretty well. But, they're concerned, no doubt about it. They're a major employer.
And demographics, that's the other factor you didn't talk about, is that the population of college students is really declining.
The area.
And here, right, we're losing population.
Yeah, with the last census was the first time in 100 years that Madison County's population had gone down, but I still think that there's some skewed data. It was done in 2000. It was in the middle of COVID. People weren't answering their doors. They were.
And it's plus or minus. I mean, it's pretty stable, but there was a real nationwide drop in birth rate in 2009. And that's now just starting to recuperate through the college.
It's part of the Great Recession.
Yeah.
So what did what percent decline have you seen in college enrollment in upstate New York? Is that just in New York, or is that nationwide? Or
I think
speak
it's
to that.
nationwide.
Yeah, I
Couple
think
meetings
it's
ago.
Yeah, the birth rate drop is nationwide.
Yeah, it's gonna accelerate the next 3 years.
Yeah.
It's steps
Yeah.
down before
Yeah.
it starts to get back to normal levels again. But
And
yeah,
then
it's gonna
even
accelerate.
when it goes back up, it's not gonna recover to
So-
what it was
So
5
for
years
Casanova
ago.
College, they would have to struggle through another decade of low enrollments before they could.
At least another handful of years, 3 or 4 years probably, unless they could capture a larger number of students that they would be, and again, they had positioned themselves for it. They had, they had more cash on hand deposits from students this calendar year than they had ever had. They had brought in new people as part of the administration on the recruitment front, admissions. They had a brand new person who was showing some good promise, but
This is gonna happen across the country. I
Yeah.
think it's just,
Yeah.
it's inevitable. It's more college.
Yeah, it's a marginal.
Kept going.
How does Wells keep going?
They must have had a huge
Yeah,
endowment.
I have, no, they
They don't?
don't. They're marginal. They almost closed a few years ago. They had
When they added.
somebody stepped in.
Oh,
Patients.
well,
They went co-ed.
patients stepped in.
Patience Brewster,
Yeah.
right? The American Girl.
Girl.
Yeah. But,
And they went co-ed.
yeah, but they're still really struggling and they're, I have faculty friends who work there.
going on, would you allow us to use this for that service?
Paul Smith.
They're in trouble.
So what's gonna happen to their equine center? And how is Morrisville State involved at all in any of this? They must be trying to recruit students.
I'm sure everybody is. I'm sure they've got an agreement with the dozen schools already to say they'll take all of the academic credits. We recognize the Casanova
Specifically
education.
about the hard assets.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a
Such
question of,
logical. Transfer.
trust me, they were thinking about those types of assets. How do they use that? But it's just not liquid. They can't get the money for it tomorrow to help pay down some of the debt or to entice the bondholders. But, I think, as I think was noted in the Cas Republican, if you guys get the weekly, they went into the fact that the rec center and the equine facility and things that are a bit off campus probably won't necessarily be part of whatever the new iteration is of the use of the core campus and what does happen to those facilities or how they become a community resource if they do. I don't know.
Yeah. High school doesn't have a pool, so, or a turf field,
Turf.
although they. Funding.
So we take the-
Casanova doesn't have a turf field.
It will.
It was a controversial issue, Chris. There's a
It's
lot of
cast
passionate
iron.
people on both sides.
Yeah.
But it's cancer causing and it's, there was a lot of folks that
He
came
was
up.
a good cable man.
Oh, God.
Big back
Well, yes, people.
It was a hotly
Well,
debated,
Casanova, or
debated item.
FM has it, it's just-
Were they trying to get it?
They voted yes.
They voted yes, it was really close.
And they're playing football without mud.
They don't like,
They never like lights on.
they don't like lights either, yeah.
Oneida High School went with lights but not turf.
Oh, yeah.
And then BVS just went with turf and lights recently, but
When I
it
was
was
still dark, my.
still.
So we think the village of Casanova would have a lot to say in how that property gets repurposed.
They, absolutely, it's
It's gonna
part
have to
of
go
their
through all of
village.
that.
And, in some ways, it may at least partially go back on the tax rolls, which could be a benefit eventually, but in the meantime, the loss of jobs and the loss of the student population.
Over 200 jobs, over $55 million in economic impact are the numbers that I've seen.
See, any of those numbers?
Over 200 jobs, direct jobs on campus, and over $55 million in economic impact.
I was in Dave's Diner Friday having lunch and I'm looking around and it was mostly young people, students, at the counter and in the booths and. I mean, if that's
Well,
a
that's-
snapshot of what.
What was their enrollment?
They were down to just under 700, full-time maybe 650, and then another 100 part-time, around that. They were,
Their peak was 1,000.
Their peak was 1,000, but I think they were
And then,
trying to shoot for an increase up to 750 in full-time or full-time equivalents.
That would be sustainable.
I think 750 would be the number that would put them in a comfortable position as far as operations.
How many buildings do they have in the village?
In excess of 20?
20 buildings?
senior housing, I mean.
Maybe.
That's a big load in the village.
It is, yeah.
Right, it's,
Yeah.
It's cool.
And they have the theater, right next to them.
Catherine Hines.
And someone's gonna have to keep the buildings up. It's gonna have to be maintenance.
Utilities, upkeep, taxes,
Gotta heat-
a lot of
you gotta
people
heat the
consider.
buildings.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah. I don't know who's gonna pay that yet.
Well,
And as Rick told me early on,
Thank you.
and you gotta protect those roofs.
Yeah.
Roof goes, the building starts to go.
It's right before they pay
Right.
it. Keep it up.
Do we know? who
that's
buys over
why it just makes so much
Yes,
sense.
so it's three large investment firms and one bank. I don't know how they got involved, but it's, the biggest one is UB, and they seem to be the biggest one pulling the strings. They're a big outfit. And from what I've heard over the years, they're the ones that are, they're not the easiest to negotiate with. So, and that's your perfect storm, right?
So what do they want to do? They just want to just sell the buildings?
I have no idea. I mean, presumably, they don't want keys to the building. What are they gonna do with their investment firms? So I think that Steve knows better than I, they're just looking to get as much money as they can get out of it.
And a fair minimum to recoup their investment
They're
capital.
gonna give them the $20.
No, they're not.
You would have thought that
Finding a way to
25
negotiate.
million is not a huge amount of money.
Especially to these guys.
Those guys, they would have said, figure out how to keep this thing going. Till we get our
We'll
money.
give you a couple more years, figure it out.
But I'm not defending them. but I
The
think
banking industry, that, $300,000 loan would get foreclosed out, and a $3 million loan would get worked out.
I will say
It seems like
something,
it would be bondholders, investors working out with kids, college.
I
To keep it rolling until they have a long-term solution. That doesn't make sense, financial sense.
from what I understand, that this could be pure conjecture, but that the bondholders are the ones going back to the table with college and saying, no, come up with something. And the college is the ones that you can't.
They just looked at the,
Yeah, I think they looked at the financial landscape, I think they looked at where they were in the hole they were in, and they said, it's untenable, we
the
can't.
student population and where they're gonna get people that they can't make it.
I think they had a responsibility to say, if we're going to be, like a 2-year workout is not something that we can or should be considering. We need to be able to guarantee the incoming class that we'll keep our doors open for 4 more years. And otherwise, we can't do it. I mean, Dave Berg is quoted in a couple of different newspapers saying those exact things, and that was repeated to me several times over. And they just, whatever the refinance terms were, it wasn't 4 years. It wasn't giving them the working capital necessary for them to be able to operate.
They're
And
squeezing.
in the end, they said, we can't. We have an obligation and we can't fulfill that. This is our only option. That's how I understand it. And it was not an easy decision. The board of trustees didn't want to come to that conclusion. The administration didn't want to come to that conclusion. They just couldn't work it out.
So it's not just a casualty of COVID. More than that.
It's a lot of things.
And the
I mean, the interest rate environment, the 4.5%, whatever they had, 3.5 and 4.25% on the two sets of bonds that in 2019 versus 6, 7, 8, 9% that would be today.
Well, they were also, I mean, they had a different underwriter earlier in the year, say, oh, we'll be able to do funding bonds, no problem. And then when the market went a little shady, they said, oops, sorry. So they kind of, a little bit of fool's gold there. So,
When we first started talking to them, that's what they were saying.
oh, yeah, this is what we do,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, we had no interest.
Yeah.
I think that, Micron coming in, there's big support as well, so.
Yeah.
Micron University.
I think Micron is far enough away. I mean, it would be a 40-minute drive to Clay. I don't think that realistically Micron will have an interest in that property or it being in sort of training grounds. They've inked a deal with OCC already, as far as workforce training and building clean rooms and.
And Morrisville, the obvious one, Madison County to work. Most of them.
Even SUNY institutions, they've got pressure to increase enrollment, they've got limited funds, they're not in a position to acquire additional property, I can't imagine.
According to the lady at the mine, president there, she said, need any more buildings, we've got the same issues. They gone beforehand and asked,
Right.
saw that where they are.
Yeah, it was, you're right.
Yeah.
I think they explored all those reasons.
Yeah, it's snowing pretty hard down on that.
I think that's very reasonable. I don't know if it's the best use, but I think it's a very reasonable use. It's an attractive community where people want to live, senior housing.
Yeah.
Workforce housing.
Well, whoever ends up with title of the property, the IDO, CRC, if you want to work with them.
Try to make
That's how we had to make something of it.
That's all I have to report.
Okay, any other business with CRC?
It'll be our expectation to get everyone back together in January. Hopefully we'll be in a position on the Alliance Apartments on the IDA front. I don't know if we'll have anything on the CRC front, but hopefully something to report on as an update on Cass College.
Not February meeting?
I would like to get us together in January if we have business, because I will get you together in March for our Paris reports and our performance and other
Even if it's an hour long.
So I had a question I should have brought up with the NDA, not a question, just a comment. It has to do with the proposed assembly lines, since we have the assembly line here
For now.
for now.
Since you're on camera.
So, I just, have you seen the proposed map? It divides
Madison County into.
Madison County. It takes off of the southern tier of towns. It's based on towns, and it's clear that they drew their map of towns. And it links Brookfield all through Cortland County, all the way over to Skaneateles and part of Baldwinsville.
You're talking about new maps?
The new maps.
That's the assembly district.
That's the proposed assembly district.
I don't pay much mind to those. Yeah, because
I mean, the northern part of the county, from Madison, you've got also north.
Yep.
This is wrong.
Well, this is the way that I understood it.
It's just these.
Brookfield's going this way, they're going to the Oneida County.
No,
No,
no.
No?
There's
Brookfield,
only two.
Hamilton, Lebanon, Georgetown.
the new maps is only two.
there's only two.
The only two. It
John,
goes
is
all the
it
way to
worth it to
Baldwin.
write a what, or
Includes
send
Skaneateles
in
and Baldwin.
comments on this draft map?
It
And
worked.
say, we would like Madison County to be kept whole.
It worked in Oneida County when Senator Griffel's district ended up being like way out of whack. And the county executive wrote a letter to the special master. The difference here, though, if they're not leaving it up to the special master, we're putting it back in the hands of the independent districting commission, which couldn't shoot straight. Okay, they can't get it done right. I don't know
So
why.
who do we send a comment letter?
Probably,
There's going to be, I read that.
there'll be public hearing.
There's public hearings, there's one in January, I think.
Okay.
in Syracuse. So that's what I was relatively soon, maybe it was early February.
Yeah.
But, Hamilton's gonna draft a letter.
Good,
To,
The more the better.
but also to Madison County, because it seems to me that Madison County it's to their benefit to be in one district.
Yes.
They always have
And
that.
that the county should hire someone or use somebody on staff.
Use their lobbying group.
Those maps are gonna be
Use them,
challenged, though.
use
They're already, we already
Yeah,
heard they're gonna be challenged,
John-
and you probably won't have anything set in stone till
Do you talk to John Becker right now?
end of summer.
But we should still, but.
Oh, absolutely.
Because even the Syracuse Post Standard is saying, one of the changes was that all of Madison County is one district. One assembly
Yeah,
district,
but-
which isn't true.
No, because the maps are, the way they scale the maps, it was really hard to figure out where the
Right,
town
and
lines
They're hard to
were.
read.
And they
They
use
were
town
hard to- right.
lines instead of county lines.
Yes.
Glad you said that, because I thought it was me.
No, I had.
It's
like trying to make a DEC management.
Village of
meeting
Hamilton,
without any-
Village of Hamilton is in two districts.
They did that
We're in
with,
two districts.
Really?
Yes.
The village is
Yeah.
split?
they did that with my maps, okay, the snake, they call it. that
Oh,
runs
your
one-
maps.
They actually split the town of Goshen in half. I got one half and someone in Brabenec got the other half, you know, and so it was like if you walk down the street, you're either in this district or that. That might be fine for a town sometimes, like Earlville, but it's not good for a suburb.
No. It's not good for Earlville, but
No.
it's historically
It's
like
not,
that,
right.
and, so they're, but when you're doing something new, it's not,
Right.
you gotta figure out some more.
Exactly.
I think they're gonna be challenged, although these draft maps are pretty close to what they were talking about in the last session. It was, yeah, so this one might, this might be, and it's,
So there's another legal issue as well. The Constitution says it doesn't go back to the commission, it says it goes back to the legislature. And the judge has sent it back to the commission.
which could be the job.
I know, but that's what I read anyway, that the legal issue is it should not have gone back to the commission. Constitution says if they can't agree, it has to go back to the legislature. Which the judge said, no, I'm putting it back to the commission. So there is that issue as well. But anyway, so I'm not sure there's anything we should do about it, but at least be aware of it.
Yeah.
It's, the way it's proposed now is not good for us.
No. So Kip said he'd be willing to,
I'll reach out to John Becker for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Just let him know that the board discussed it, and Liz recommends that the county put out a letter and
Yeah.
even be so bold as to say maybe Park Strategies ought to put this on their limited number of assignments on behalf of the county.
The northern part, it's like 12,000 people, so you can figure rearrange them. Anyway. Just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
Any other business?
So just to make it, just to let you folks know that, I took a position with the new congressman. Okay, I'm now the director of the community affairs for Brandon Williams, and I'll be handling all his affairs in Madison and Oneida County. So, we're setting up an office in Utica. In Utica, we have a satellite office in Rome and Madison County. The other office will be in Onondaga County. John Cassidy's old office, as a matter of fact. But, you know,
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So, we'll be making ourselves available for issues, you know, on the federal level.
Federal building.
No, actually, they wanted $30,000 to renovate the office, and they wanted $4,000 a month in rent. So we thought, well, this is great, let's go to the federal building, we'll save that, and no, they want to charge us rent, so we took an office over on Broad Street by the train station for just about half of that. So, yeah.
Right now,
Right down by the middle, by the thruway, by Route 5,
By the train station.
by the train station.
The official title is Director of Community Affairs
Director of Community.
for Congressman.
Congressman Williams. Well, I'll be handling some responsibilities in Onondaga County when needed, but focused primarily on Oneida and Madison County. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting, and he's a great guy to work with. And, you know, the scale is different, that's for sure, much different. That would be trillions of dollars.
Good.
Just more zeros.
I can't comprehend
Just don't forget your roots.
Yeah. You still got the same softball? I know how to get all these.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be decent.
I've never bothered you.
Yeah.
Move we adjourn.
Okay, motion adjourned. Second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
Thank you
Safe
for
travels. Stay slow.
Yeah, yeah.
Stick to the state highways.
All the way to Brookfield.
Yeah.
Snow tires on
Take
it?
20.
This one's yours, right? Thank you.
You can have it, it's Morrisville.
Oh, it's
Courtesy of
Morris?
Dane.
Well, then,
Help yourself.
Tell me there was these goodies over here. Look at that.
Yeah,
Sandy sent you there.
You can't get
Yeah.
Smithfield on
they didn't
the
send us. They just arrived.
Walking down the aisle. Actually, Tom Sullivan.
They
Christmas
got
card
deep
is-
pockets.
I think I'm gonna skip it.
We don't get the idea.
No, it's gonna be-
Yeah.
Tell me to start.
My wife just texted me from North Brookfield, and she said it's really bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, it came within the